Hope everyone's having a great Saturday afternoon. And I'm Tristan here from Zokyo. So as you know, Zokyo, we are a private equity firm and a security firm. So if you guys need any help for anything, just approach outside at our booth. Yeah, so it's really great to host this roundtable together with fellow S-Team panelists and guests. So maybe we could do a quick introduction, starting from maybe Tony. Yeah.
Sure. Hi, I'm Toby Gilbert. I'm the CEO of CoinWeb. We are a Layer 2 interoperability platform launched on 6 exchanges. And we also do fiat on and off ramping, where we have 7 digital asset licenses all around the world.
Hi, I'm Paul Kim, the CEO for XPLA. It's a gaming and content focused Layer 1 developed by Come2Us, which is one of the largest gaming companies in Korea. Thank you for having me here.
Hi, my name is JD. I'm the head of partnerships and ecosystem at DWF Labs. DWF Labs is a multi-stage investment firm with a high-frequency trading desk, market-making capabilities, and also a VC.
Hello, my name is Junda. I'm from Kobo. We are a licensed digital assets custodian, providing both full custody and also MPC custody.
Thank you, everybody. So as you guys know, today our topic will be innovative trends in Web3. So for VCs, for startups, right? So what do you think are the current innovations in Web3, and what do you think is it so important? And for your specific fields, right? Are there any new innovations that you see? Maybe Tony, we can start with you first.
I think the space is quite reactionary to where the new trends lie, and then technology being architected, built, and shipped to meet those new trends, which is quite interesting because normally that works the other way around in technology. You come up with an idea and you go and build it. So at this moment in time, we're seeing, although there's been a big liquidity drawback from DeFi, the general idea is that DeFi is here to stay, and new DAOs and protocols that are coming out to support that next wave as it happens, and alongside of which I'd say metaverse as well. So those are the 2 areas where there is a concerted effort to build and ship product in the hope it's going to be picked up on the next wave.
For me, coming from a gaming and a Layer 1 perspective, I think the areas where we think we need innovations in is on accessibility, usability, and the security of blockchain. Right now, from a gaming perspective, there are millions and billions of Web 2 players out there, but who are not Web 3 ready. And a lot of them, they don't have the right education in terms of onboarding into the Web3 experience. They don't really realize the benefits of it, and they don't know how to use it. And a lot of that could come from their hesitancy with just trust issues. A lot of people think the Web3 gaming is very it's gambling. It's more about trying to make money here and there, but what we're focused on with XPLA, we're trying to make the game content become the number 1 reason for Web2 users to come to Web3. So unless you have a gaming that's actually fun, we don't think that game is going to be successful in the long run. So we're focusing on developing games that's a lot of fun to begin with, and building on top of that, giving them Web3 experiences where we're giving them a lot of utility in terms of NFTs. We're giving them, potential to earn and own the assets that you actually earn in the game.
Yeah, definitely agree, because I think in the past we used to focus on profitability, like play to earn. So maybe people, they tend to,
Sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm just saying I agree with him, because in the past GameFi projects, they used to focus on profitability first before fun. So I think what you said is pretty good, because the game firstly has to be entertaining to be able to attract daily active users and to maintain them for the long run. Yeah.
That's why the play to earn games have earned this really bad rep. And so what we're trying to do is we're moving towards what we call play to own, meaning it's a lot more focused on the ownership of gaming assets instead of the earning aspect of the game.
Okay. Thank you so much. And JD, what about you? What do you see as the current innovative trends in your portfolio or investors?
Yeah, I think Last year, we all saw, there was DeFi summer, there was like a rise of a lot of random projects and tokens in the space. I think that this year, a lot of the innovation is going into a Web 2 to Web 3 interruptibility kind of play, where you don't need to actually educate users in what Web 3 is and what is going on in Web 3. I think that that's going to be the catalyst for the next bull run, whereby people can come on board, they can have the same Web 2 experience without having that education piece, and be able to actually tap into Web 3 technology.
Thank you, JD. And lastly, Jinta, what do you guys see, as Kobo, any innovation in the custody space?
I think agree with Tony. The space is reactionary. I think the biggest event in the past few months was FTX, and then the FTX event did cause trading funds to lose a little bit of trust and become a bit apprehensive about putting their funds on exchanges. So there's a small number of custodians, including Kobo. We've come up with a off-exchange settlement and custodian network. So basically, for funds that are on our custody, they could get their funds mirrored on the exchanges without having to pre-fund exchanges. So you can trade without pre-funding, and we only send the tokens there after the settlement, after the trades are settled. So it's a little bit like the TradFi concept, So let's say if you're trading and the exchange goes completely down like FTX, we won't send your tokens over. So that helps. This is, I think, an innovation after the FTX event.
Thank you so much, Jinta. And I think, as you mentioned, the collapse of FTX, there's like so many negative sentiments around the market right now. So how do you any ideas to how can we actually inspire the next generation of innovators in the space? Or how do we, potential builders, how do we encourage them to build more innovative products in Web3? Maybe Jinta, you want to start first from your side?
I think the industry has to rebuild a bit of trust. I think a lot of trust has been lost over the past few events. I think one thing is, with trust comes liquidity. I think most of the assets are held by a lot of funds, and their main purpose is to hodl or trade. There's not too much going on in DeFi, especially DeFi, because a lot of trust is lost. I think hopefully with ETH 2.0 staking, a little bit more trust comes back into this. Because with a lot of DeFi, when your capital gets deployed to all these DApps, then the whole ecosystem starts to grow. Because right now, most of the assets and funds are just trading and hodling. I think it's not helping the entire ecosystem that much. But to help in the ecosystem, we need the trust to be back. And hopefully this is something that a lot of trustless technology can help.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully the trust comes back again after a few months or like a few years. So maybe JD, your thoughts?
Yeah, we see a lot of projects that come through the door that are kind of looking for funding in this kind of current climate right now. I think that one of the things that we do tell, potential founders is that innovation is just invention if there is no path to profitability. It's really important to be able to look at your product and your project from the top down, and to find a way to actually be able to monetize whatever it is that you're building, because otherwise it's just a fresh idea that is on a page that doesn't actually do anything for anybody.
Yeah, I think I echo what JD said. I think trust is definitely important. And in order to earn trust, I think you need accountability of the projects that in the Web3 space. For us, I don't know how many of you guys know what SOC 1 Type 2 report is, but we're on our. It's a financial and accounting standard to which that you prove that you are doing everything by the books. We're going to be applying for that to make sure that we're financially and accounting wise compliant with the regulations of the country that we're in. So I think accountability will definitely grow the trust in the space, and I think that'll lead to more innovators coming to the Web3 space.
I think actually some workable products would be really helpful. Every protocol that gets released makes the same lofty promises that it's going to be solving all of blockchain's problems. But actually usable, workable products that can inspire others to be innovative, I think would be a really good step in the right direction. And then passed on at that point, users and revenue streams and all those sorts of things that underpin real businesses. Getting away from the speculative nature of trading tokens and no idea what they're actually being used for. Can we get away from that? Can we get into workable, usable product and actually see the space get real adoption and for it to take off?
Thank you so much, Tony, and everybody else. And I think on the same note, right, do you guys think that innovation will actually reach a point of saturation in Web3 space? Because do you think like the core needs of Web3 users are already met given the current protocols out there? Yeah, because we have seen many projects like what Tony mentioned has promised like the many complicated utilities for people, but will these utilities necessarily be adopted in the future? Will they actually be built and created in the future? Yeah, yes, that's my question to you guys.
Okay, I mean, I think you were giving that one to me. Technology, like not trying to teach anyone to suck eggs in any way, shape or form. Technology usually is an iteration of a previous technology layered to get to where you get to today. The microchip that most of you or all of us use in our smartphones today has been around since the 1970s. Web3, people normally ask what is Web3, is really can be looked at as an upgrade to existing Web2 infrastructures. And just to give you a use case or an idea, a business that can take on tokenization to motivate or have a greater buy-in from their customer base is an ideal use for Web3 within upgrading a Web2 project to it. So I would say that saturation in the market doesn't need to happen if it can be viewed as an upgrade to the vast majority of existing technology that's out there with the right use cases being applied.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, and the Web3 space in general is so very young. It's a 1.0 version of Web3. So, I mean, in the Web2 space, innovations happen. It continues to happen even now. It'll continue to happen even if Web3, goes into like Web3 3.0 version of the Web3, So I don't think innovation will be ever saturated in the Web3 space, as it hasn't been in the Web2 space.
So I don't think saturation actually occurs in the Web3 space. I think every iteration of the tech that is to come is just more innovation for everybody. It's definitely improving as we go along. I think that for some of the days that we go into work, I definitely for sure open up that pipeline and think, here we go, another one again. But actually when you look deeper into the technology and the products and the projects and the founders behind these products, you'll actually find that there's actually really, really interesting and really exciting innovation going on within the space.
I think we're still very early in this space, and there's not a lot of use cases beyond trading and hodling. And if you look at all the different metaverses, this to earn, that to earn, a lot of them don't really have a lot of users yet. So I think we're still very early, still lots of innovation to go, and lots of use cases to be made.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jinta. And I think, so coming along to this question, right? So next question is, do you think like attitudes and, of like as a VC yourself and as startups yourself, so do you think like your attitudes have changed from the bear market compared to the previous bull market? And, which countries or regions do you guys see as the next innovative hub? Do you see like Southeast Asia as a region for being the next innovation hub as well? Maybe Jinta, you want to start first?
Maybe the second question first.
Okay.
I think the major financial markets, like let's say Singapore, New York, London, and so on, there can be a lot of innovation around, financial markets, like TradFi to crypto finance, and I think, and then also in terms of regulatory stuff. And then for the rest of the developing markets, like rest of Southeast Asia, Latin America, I think they could be the first spots where we see crypto adoption by the masses, because they're more crypto first, and the governments are actually more friendly to retail getting into crypto.
Thank you. And JD?
Yeah, in terms of a region for adoption, I definitely think Southeast Asia and also the Latin American markets. These pockets are very familiar with each other, are very similar to each other in that their infrastructure is on kind of the same kind of levels. And so I think that in the next coming years, you'll definitely see that a lot of exciting projects will come out of these. For the attitudes of startups building through a bear market, I will say that there has been a lot of projects that come to us on a daily basis and try to change their vision because they're trying to raise in this bear market. My one piece of advice to anybody who is trying to raise money is not to adjust and change your vision just to suit one VC. Because at the end of the day, you are your own vision and no one else is able to bring that alive apart from who you are.
Thank you. And just curious, so is DWF, what's your investment thesis? Is it still solely focused on infra and DeFi for now?
So we are sector chain and stage agnostic. So we will look at projects that will bring about a big ecosystem that will make sense for our kind of community at a whole in terms of a play. Things that we are more interested in are infrastructure plays, L1s, L2s. We are looking at a lot of GameFi, metaverses. So if anybody has a project and would like to talk to a fund, feel free to come and grab me.
Thank you so much. And Paul, maybe for your game side?
Some of the changes that I've seen with the startups, well, obviously coming from gaming background, so the games that I speak to a lot, they have altered their tokenomics or game economy to be a little bit more sustainable. They're trying to minimize the earning aspect and more about sustainability of the game and for the long-term longevity of the game. So that's definitely something that I've seen with the games that I've spoken to. As to the next innovation hub for Web3, I think that'll depend on, I guess, I think Asia in general.
Even for GameFi, maybe do you see like some country that will lead the GameFi innovation as well in the space?
I think Korea is definitely up there. I think Japan, with the government being shifting their perspective on Web3 recently to be a little bit more lenient on the Web3 side, I think Japan is going to be the next gaming innovation hub for sure.
Thank you so much. And Tony, maybe your thoughts?
I think it depends in large part on where the regulatory landscape is and how that is going to evolve. You can see that the SEC is attacking stable tokens at this moment in time, which in turn will then stifle innovation in the first instance around stable tokens in the States, and then arguably as they set out their regulatory framework, that will then pull in innovation. And I think you're going to see that, is to keep a keen eye on it. I think Hong Kong has just made an announcement that they've set out their regulatory stall, and to keep an eye on which countries are prepared to do that and where that's going to go. And I think that will, in large part, determine where that innovation is going to fall for the different sectors within Web3.
And I think on the topic of regulation, right, do you think, because we have seen so many regulations coming out due to the FTX collapse, Luna collapse, do you think regulation and more centralization will actually stifle innovation as well? Yeah.
Okay, I mean, regulation to date has been very much focused on the point where fiat money gets converted into a token and then it comes out. And those were commonly known as virtual asset service provider licenses, VASPs. Other countries at the same time have then decided, like Thailand, for example, have said, we have an existing financial regulatory framework and we are going to apply tokens to that. And that has its shortcut, it has its upsides and its downsides. Upsides like the banking system will support it. The downsides are wallets are illegal in Thailand. However, that's meant to happen.
Sorry, what was the question again?
Yeah, do you think regulation in the space will actually stifle innovation, with the increased centralization from governing institutions?
I don't think it'll have that much impact on the pace of innovation. I think regulation is good for the industry right now, just so that all the projects become more accountable for their projects, and they're not, intentionally not creating scam projects. I think regulation in large part is good. Whether it stifles innovation, I'm not sure. I think people are, and their vision, are able to overcome any regulation limitations that they may face.
And JD, do you have any thoughts on regulations?
Yeah, I think that I think it's a contentious question for sure. I think on one side of the camp you have people who are DeFi maxis who think that decentralization in this world should be decentralized. On the other side of that, you have people who think that there should be centralization. I think in the absence of having a perfect world, you're always going to have a hybrid of this. And I think that that's when real innovation can happen, because people are trying to grow out of various different spaces and actually create innovation for better experiences so that people can move towards a more DeFi future.
Thank you, JD and Jin. Okay. Yeah, so I think as we come to the last 5 minutes of the panel, we may open it to the floor. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Do we have a mic for him?
From an investment perspective, how important do you view operational risk? I mean, obviously in the lens of FTX and general corporate governance in centralized exchanges as they run currently. How important is that in your investment review for startups, but also if you look at it from a growth lens as well? So from early stage to as they grow, what do you see when you look at operational risk?
I think operational risk is definitely one of those things we look at. We rely a lot on things like external auditors to be able to audit things like smart contracts. In order for throughout this whole FTX thing, I think there was a lot of companies who came to us and had lost their entire treasury on FTX, and those are clear kind of red flags. And so I think that it's definitely important for funds and for projects to manage this properly. And if you don't know how, then ask. I think it's the advice.
I see a lot of consultants that are very prepared to charge $200-300 an hour to tell you what to do. That's quite a common thread. When we put together what our policies are and our operating procedures to try and mitigate the risks that you're referring to, we do it from scratch. There aren't templates, they don't exist. And now if you go and submit something to the FCA in the UK or you would to BOT here, they've got this wonderful thing which can actually look if you've plagiarized somebody else's risk analysis policies, operational procedures, the whole lot, and they'll throw you out if you're applying for a license. So it's an interesting area, it's an interesting question for me specifically, because we had to build this, as I just said, from scratch, and we do cross-chain token issuance, we do wallets, we do fiat on and off ramping, we do the broadcasting between multiple chains with routing systems that are picking out a chain, logs against its KPIs, and all these policies to mitigate that operational risk have to be built bottom up. And then you learn certain parts of it aren't right. So it's a live document that you're constantly, it's organic. You're learning from what your mistakes are, you're changing it, you're updating it. And that's quite an interesting point, because in many businesses, if you go and set up a brokerage house, there'll be templates and consultants that they have everything that they can come and help you with. But when you're really on the bleeding edge of innovation and you're creating something proprietary from scratch to mitigate operational risk, there's a lot of risk in it. And you learn it the hard way in most parts.
Please.
Sorry. So for us, I think evaluating that is very difficult. It's not that easy. So for us, when we evaluate games to invest in, one of the things that we look for is the history of success of the team members and the founders. If they have developed and serviced the game on Google Play Store, Apple App Store for multiple years in the past, then that gives us a lot more trust in that project because they've been there, they've created success in the Web2 space. And our basic philosophy is Web3 games, whether or not it's a Web3 or Web2 game, the game needs to be fun to attract users. So if you are successful in the Web2 space, more than likely that you're going to be successful, you're going to create a successful game in the Web3 space as well. So we look at the past track record of the key members of the team to base, whether they're going to have a good operating team and operating procedure.
One thing on operational risk of custody of funds, I think since the FTX incident happened, everyone's saying and shouting, not your keys, not your coins. But one thing I like to say is that holding your own keys also has risk. Okay, you need software security, hardware security, physical security, all your employees trained and tested on security, then you could be well qualified to hold your own keys. So that's something that people may not necessarily consider when they just think about holding your own keys.
Thank you so much. I think it was a really great, insightful speech that we hear from our fellow guests on innovation in Web3 technology. So thank you everyone, to the guests as well as to the listeners once again for your time. And yeah, have a great weekend ahead.